Again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Neshaminy School Board meeting of January 25th, 2022. Ms. Burns, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mrs. Hallenbeck.
Present.
Mrs. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Kovitz.
Here.
Mrs. Lafferty.
Here.
Mr. Parentano.
Present.
Mr. Cervillo.
Here.
Mr. Sporny.
Here.
And Mr. Sullivan.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To read executive session statement. The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment, issues related to labor relations, the purchase or lease of real property, matters related to litigation, and matters related to school safety and security. Thank you. Are there any announcements?
There are no announcements.
That brings us to Dr. McGee, your superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. I'd like to start by in the back of the boardroom. If you've noticed, we have some art. To my left, your right is Neshaminy High School's contribution, and to my right, your left is Tawonka Elementary Schools. It's nice to see our school and our boardroom getting back to normal. The COVID report is simple. It's bigger than we ever expected. We're doing okay. We're just going to keep on pushing through, doing what we do well, making sure schools are manageable, open, and safe. So everyone stick with us. I ask that moms and dads out there, if your child says something nice about someone, they really could use the boost. So whether it be the teacher, the bus driver, the guy that found their mittens, zipped up their coat, made sure they got the right lunch, if you can get that 30-second email to the staff or the principal, it would go a long way. We've got 1,100 people working hard to make sure this thing works, and they can use a boost every now and then. So if you get a moment, drop them a note or drop the principal a note. I'm sure he or she can get it to the right person. Continuing with the fine arts, it's that time of year. In the spring we talk about, or in the fall we talk about Friday night lights and out on fields. In the winter it's squeaky sneakers on gymnasium floors and the sound of music. Our 4 secondary schools are working on their musicals. Just heard today that the musical in this building, the rehearsal was from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. That is crazy commitment and crazy practice. There was a pizza break in the middle, I was aware of. At the high school on February 3rd, Something Rotten will open. At Pequessing on February 16th, James and the Giant Peach. On February 23rd, Maple Point, Willy Wonka. And on March 9th at Sandburg, Matilda. Continuing on with good things, I don't know if you remember in September, a 5th grader named Sarah came to the podium and challenged us to recognize Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Well, Sarah's already got things going. Because of her efforts, she has been able to, with the cooperation of the Neshaminy High School Mini-Thon, And Mrs. Montone up there, we had our first mini-thon, where middle schoolers came together and they raised $5,000 for childhood cancer. That was followed by Neshaminy High School's mini-thon, which is the smaller version of Penn State's thon, for those of you following along. They raised last weekend $27,000 for childhood cancer. So that is some of the those are some of the things going on within our schools that are good. If you recall, at the end of October, I mentioned $10,000 from the Pink Out going to other charities. So if you're keeping track of the numbers, the students and staff at Neshaminy High School continue to support their community and positive things. Moving on to an academic piece, I know the phrase Act 158 doesn't mean anything to anyone, but it's a piece of legislation, Pennsylvania, that requires for a child to graduate in the Commonwealth to pass the 3 keystone exams of algebra, biology, and literature. It's been put off a number of years, one because before the pandemic, people weren't ready, and now the pandemic, it's been put off. It is now on the plate of our junior class, the class of 2023. It's gone through ed development. We have a number of plans. There's 5 paths to graduate, no worries. One is pass all the exams. The other is a composite score from all 3 exams. A third one is do better on other tests like the SATs, ATs, etc. The final one is go to the tech school and get a certificate, which doesn't apply except for those kids who go to the tech school. The 4th path is the path we're going to use for those that struggle, and we will get them through. It involves a portfolio, a plan for college or career after graduation, some community service, etc. So all in place, but within the next month or so, maybe couple weeks, Mr. Bowman and the C&I department and Mr. Staub at the high school will be communicating this out to our junior parents. Oh, by the way, this is still on the plate, and over the next year and a half, we will work with kids without taking anything away from them, make sure they do what they need to do so we can check the box that says they've met their requirements by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So that's been through ed development. We seem to have a good plan. I think ed development supported it, if I can speak for Mrs. Bowman. And so we're going to proceed with that. That said, on next February's agenda, I'll be asked this board to waive the local graduation requirement for the Keystones for our senior class. So in board policy is graduation, how you graduate. And if you recall, last year we waived it because the kids didn't take the test. So we have the same issue sitting there. So we're going to waive with your permission, waive that Keystone graduation requirement for the class of 2022. And that'll be on your plate for discussion next month and hopefully forgiving that class of that obligation. And we'll pick it up with the state requirement if the state doesn't choose to kick it back another year. All right. Mr. Allen, that's my superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McKee. That brings us to our first round of public comment. Please be mindful of the 3-minute time limit. And Ms. Burns, do we have any signups?
There were no signups.
No signups. The podium is open. Anyone? Good, let's close that. Thank you.
Wow.
That brings us to item 2 on our agenda, routine matters. We're going to read 2.01, the minutes. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the attached minutes for the November 23rd, 2021 public board meeting. That's not right.
Can we master motion?
Yeah, I'm going to master motion the rest of them. I just wanted to read
Okay.
that one. December 6th, 2021 reorganization meeting and the January 4th, 2022 public board meeting, and their files are attached. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Or abstentions? Moving on, I would like to make a master motion for items 2.02, 2.03, 2.04, and 2.05. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Motion passes. That brings us to personnel on our agenda. Administrative, Mr. Peritano, please.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Section 3.01, retirements, resignations, ends of assignments. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Director hereby approves the following retirements, resignations of administrative staff. There's one name, Gerald Rutledge, and he is retiring effective 1/7/2022. Has served 30.8 years here at the district, and we want to thank Mr. Rutledge for his dedication to the Neshaminy School District and our community.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cerullo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Motion passes.
Do you want me to continue? 3.02 appointments. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of Directors hereby approves the following appointments of administrative staff. There's one name, Jody Musey, and it will be effective 1/26/2022 at a salary of $73,543.75.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
That'll bring us to 3.03, revised returns from leave. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of Directors hereby approves the following return from leave of absence of administrative staff. There's one name, Paul Mahoney, and it is revised on December 17th, 2021.
Motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cerullo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 4, personnel certified. Mr. Sullivan, if you would read those, please.
Okay. I'd like to make a master,
Sorry. With the exception of 4.08.
I'd like to make a master motion to approve item 4.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 4.02, appointments, 4.03, tenure awards, 4.04, leaves of absence, 4.05, changes to leaves of absence, 4.06, revised returns from leave, 4.07, co-curricular resignations.
There's a motion on the floor for those items. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Peritano. All in, what? Sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries.
4.08, co-curricular appointments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following co-curricular appointments for certified staff, and there are 52 names on this appointment schedule.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Mrs. Burns, may I have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Kovitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Parentano?
Yes.
Mr. Cirillo?
Yes.
Mr. Sporny?
I believe I need to abstain from this. My wife is number 42 of 52 due to what I believe learned today as the Veterans Mural in Poquessing Middle School. So I will not take part in that.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Yes.
And Mr. Allen?
Yes.
8 yes and 1 abstained.
Motion carries. Brings us to item number 5, personnel support. Mrs. Hollenbeck, if you would, please.
Am I doing these individually or master motioning them?
You may requested in motion. I am not aware there's any conflict.
If you want to give some recognition to some of the people in 5.01.
Okay. I can do both at the same. I'd like to make a master motion for 5.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments. 5.02 for appointments. 5.03, leaves of absence. 5.04, revised leave of absence. And 5.05, ancillary retirements, resignations, end of assignments. Alluding to what Mr. Parentano said, we would like to thank, there are several retirements or resignations at 5.01. We'd like to thank them for their service. We've got bus driver Lori Hewitt with 28.5 years. We have Allison McMath, a bus driver, 17.8 years. Mary Ann McCole, who was a cook for 20 years. Sandra Rokowski, a building aide at this school. William Snow, for 32 years. And Barbara Towers for 19 years. Oh, one more. Susan Wanner for 21.9 years. Thank you for your dedication to Neshaminy.
Absolutely. Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sullivan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 6, business operations. Mrs. Hollenbeck, read those, please.
6.01, resolution to not raise taxes above the Act 1 index. Whereas Pennsylvania Boards of School Directors have the option to adopt the Act 1 resolution for the upcoming fiscal year in accordance with Section 311 of the Taxpayer Relief Act of Special Session Number 1 of 2006. And whereas the Act 1 index for 2022 through the 2023 is 3.4%, and the district will not raise the rate of any tax by more than the index. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby adopts the attached Act 1 Accelerated Budget Opt-out Resolution for the 2022-2023 budget in accordance with Act 1 of 2006.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Sullivan. He beat you. All those in favor?
Question, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don, I apologize. I should have sent this to you earlier, but I got busy and forgot. Do you know what the aggregate of the 3.4 represents in total dollars? Not the median, the aggregate. Is it 4 million, 3 million, 2 million?
It would be very close to, it's in excess of 4 million, but not
Okay.
quite 5.
Alrighty. That would be the maximum that you could raise taxes.
That's correct.
Okay, but we don't have to raise them that high. That's up to us to
That'll
determine
be-
at a later date.
That's right.
All right, thank you. And I apologize, I meant to send that question to you earlier.
Is there any further discussion or questions? Did I call for the vote already?
No.
I did not. But it had a second.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I would like to make a motion for 6.02, Sunday facility usage. Whereas according to Board Policy 800, facilities fields may not be scheduled on Sundays without school board approval. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves Sunday usage for, do you want me to read them individually? Or just say there's 3?
I think we should just say there's.
And there's 3 associations listed on the report.
Thank you. There's a motion's been made. It's on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Peritano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. That brings us to item number 7, educational development. Ms. Bowman, please read those for us.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion, 7.01, out-of-district placement. Whereas in order to meet the educational programming needs of specific students, it may be advantageous to utilize the services of out-of-district providers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approve the out-of-district placements identified below. And there are 4 students listed.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Kovitz. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in opposition? Abstentions? I'm getting tired, sorry. Motion carries. Thank you.
Do we need a coffee allotment for the president for meetings?
I'm falling asleep now. All right, I'd like to make a motion, 7.02, Bucks County Technical High School Joint Board. Whereas School Board Policy Number 005 requires that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors appoint board member representatives to the Joint Board Committee of the Bucks County Technical High School in accordance with the terms of the Articles of Agreement between Bucks County Technical High School and the participating school districts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby appoints John Allen and Adam Kovitz as board member representatives and Cindy Bowman as alternative to the Joint Board Committee of the Bucks County Technical High School for school year 2022.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbach. All those in favor?
Could I make a comment? You just going right through this, aren't you?
I usually ask for comment. I noticed I haven't done that
Yeah.
tonight. And nobody noticed.
I did. I just want to take this opportunity to thank our board members, John, Adam, and Cindy, who take on this extra responsibility. This is a whole other job on top of their regular school board job. On top of their job. So I appreciate this, and I don't want to leave Mr. Cirillo out either, because the IU board requires similarly the same, and without their involvement, we would not be getting the help, support, and representation for our students, and I just want you to know it does not go unnoticed. So thank you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion, 7.03, overnight trips.
I don't think we ever took the vote.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did take the vote? Okay, I'm sorry.
We ready? 7.03, overnight trips. Whereas according to the board policy number 618, trips extending overnight are permitted by authorization of the Board of School Directors only. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approve the overnight trips listed below. And there are 3 trips for Neshaminy High School.
Thank you. There is a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Cirillo. Do I need to take a roll call vote on this?
Yes.
Ms. Burns, please.
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Kovitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Parentano?
Yes.
Mr. Cirillo?
Yes.
Mr. Sporny?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
I abstain, and I have to abstain because my daughter Katie is a varsity cheerleader, so she will be attending the state cheerleading competition this weekend and the national cheerleading competition in Orlando, Florida.
Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Yes.
And Mr. Allen? Mr. Allen?
Yes, of course.
8 yes, 1 abstained.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8 is a first reading of policy. We are tabling that until February. That brings us to the closing moments. 9.01, is there other board business? Anyone? Hearing none, that will bring us to the next round of public comment. Anyone have any thoughts on what's transpired today and wish to speak? No. That brings us to board comment. We started that direction. We start with Alicia and work our way around tonight, please.
How's it feel, John? Huh?
We already discussed that. He already told me I knew. My apologies. Bringing us to board comment. Ms. Lafferty, please.
I could not let this evening go without making a comment. No, it's what I do best. Earlier during Dr. McGee's superintendent report, he made some commentary about how much money they raised for the mini-thon and how one of our young students from Pequessing, Sarah, came to a board meeting and brought her concerns to us. And I don't recall if we ever discussed it. But I just want to know that the extent that our superintendent goes to try and make sure our students feel like they're appreciated and noticed. I don't know if we ever talked about, but Dr. McGee took Sarah, her mother, and 3 of her friends out to Starbucks, I believe, for coffee and discussion on how to help Sarah get her project off the ground and work with the principals there at Pequessing Middle School. So I believe that's some well-deserved recognition that Dr. McGee deserves for going over and above for the students here at Neshaminy. And I just want everybody to realize what he does.
Thank you, Mr. Barantano. Unnecessary, but thank you.
No comment.
No comment either.
Good evening. I would just like to remind everybody that there is a Business Operations Committee meeting this Thursday, 6:30 in this room. We will be discussing the budget. So this meeting is where we decide if taxes are going to be raised, by how much, and a lot of other various issues. And that's where there's more of a dialogue. The committee meetings are where there's more of a dialogue back and forth between the audience. So if anybody is so inclined, it's this Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Normally, I have closing remarks. I'm going to apologize and say, well, I won't. You'll be happy. I don't have anything on my mind at the moment other than thank you for coming out. And there are a number of meetings coming up, and I will draw your attention to our next meeting of this board on February 8th, and that is our public works session, 7 p.m. here. That brings us to the end of the meeting, and I make a motion to call this meeting to a close.
Second.
Meeting, it's been second. All those in favor?
I'm
We're done.
always going to be the one that